With any study, it's important to register and write protocols to describe the study and to decide a priori how the study is going to be run and analyzed. This is important to ave overlap between studies so that we keep track of what other groups and researchers are doing. Also to have a consideration of the ethical aspects and a record of what was planned, so we don't end up sort of cheating and finding results after the fact and publishing them as if they were the planned analyses. The World Medical Association has this Declaration of Helsinki, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with, which describes ethical principles for medical research involving human subjects. There are a number of points that you should read and be aware of, but one of them is that every clinical trial must be registered in a publicly accessible database before recruitment of the first subjects. There's a bunch of these registries that you can find. ISRCTN is one, clinical trials is another. There are several trial registries you can use. They're very simple and easy to access, to find studies, to read about studies, but also easy to enter your own study. So there's no excuse really for not registering your trial. Part of the registry is declaring your outcomes, your comparators, your treatment exposures, your analysis plan, etc., etc. So all of the things that we looked at when designing the study goes into the registry. We should also write down a lengthier protocol with all the details. So a registry only contains the bare minimum of information that is required for the trial. But a protocol can elaborate on particularities of the trial design, the treatment, etc. SPIRIT, or Standard Protocol Items Recommendations for Intervention Trials, is both a statement and a checklist. You can go to their website here, which is widely used and endorsed by international standards. It contains 33 items, which you should go through and make sure that you include in your protocol. It has to do with stuff like administrative information with funding, but also rationale and objectives of your study and so on. If you make sure that you have all or almost all of the SPIRIT items in your protocol, you've done a good job. You've described most of the important parts of your trial. There's a SPIRIT figure that should go into a SPIRIT protocol, which gives an overview of the study period with when is enrollment, when is allocation, when are follow-ups done, when is closeout, when is a participant done with their participation, what kind of interventions are there, what kind of assessments and so on. These are super nice to see, to give a quick overview of a study. You could decide to actually publish your protocol if you wanted to. There are dedicated journals that actually focus only on publishing protocols. There are non-dedicated journals and general journals who publish protocols, and you could do that. I think it's a nice idea to publish your protocol if some of the questions you have are quite novel, and there's value in explaining the question itself. If you feel that your protocol doesn't really contain that much new information and value, you can still make it publicly available, but not go through the whole publication process. One platform, known as the Open Science Framework, is great for this. It allows you to put documents and register documents and keep them embargoed if you want to, and you can't change them. Well, you can change them if you want to, but you can also lock them in so they can't be changed. So that gives you a timestamp saying, this was my protocol and at this and this date. And this is nice and free. Once you're done, however many years it might take, once you're done with your study and you've analyzed your trial, then it's time to report it. And there's also a checklist for reporting, known as Consort, the Consolidated Standards for Reporting Trials. There's a link to the Consort website here. There's variations depending on what type of trial you've done. And it's also a checklist of, well, the standard one is 25 items, which tells you what to put in your report. you should put in one of these Consort flowcharts, which shows readers how many participants were randomized, how many were followed up, how many were included in analysis, how many were excluded, and why. These are I'm going to say non-optional. They should be done. For sure, you need to register. For sure, you need to define a protocol. You don't necessarily have to publish a protocol in a journal, but put it somewhere where it can be locked in, so to speak, so that you guarantee that you can't change it. And then always follow Consort when reporting your trial.